Did you know that African American music is universally acclaimed as the original American music? Did you also know that it made Queen Victoria cry? Welcome to today's Black History lesson from moi, coming straight to you from blackentrepreneur.history.com. So it was around 1920 when African American cultural music and sound was heard throughout the nation and the world by the Fisk University Chorus. And later on, African American music became universally acclaimed as the original American music. Now, in all of African American history, since the very first generations of African Americans, this group of people began to cultivate something never heard before in the United States or around the world. Where did this sound begin? In the plantation fields, way back in the 1600s. Music was the one thing that enslavement could not take away from the descendants of the enslaved. And it was through the style of music that developed in the United States that they learned and taught and carried them through their worst days. The music was also a way to pass down their character and soul. And it would be about 300 years later where the world would hear African American music for the first time. Yep, they would hear the soul of the African American. And according to lecturer Cleveland G. Allen, this would be, quote, the priceless heritage that should be treasured, end quote. Now, these songs were called plantation songs. This is the literal birthplace of the African American song. The music grew as a sacred part of African American heritage because it is set apart and unique to this specific group of people. Of course, the music was lauded by Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois. Not only them, but a plethora of musicians of yesterday and today. Now again, African American music was built on their soul. That's why it's called soul music today. The music was an expression of our strength, our hope, our determination, and even sorrows. And the one thing that was never included in the music is revenge. So one would ask, why not? Well, it's because of their faith. They knew that it wasn't the way. That meant the way of Jesus. They were Christians. It was through the Bible that they knew true Christianity, realizing that it wasn't anything like the false form of religion, which many white men of that day created, only to enhance their need for greed and power. They knew for sure this was not biblical, and it wasn't Christian at all. The Christianity of the African American followed the true words of Jesus: love and not hatred, justice and not injustice, hope and freedom, not captivity and hopelessness. African Americans fell in love with Jesus through faith, and their songs revealed their souls. So, do you know the story of David, the psalmist, the songwriter, the musician, King David in the Bible? He was a man after God's own heart. Well, African Americans were in search of that too, and they were after God's own heart. And it looks like their prayers were answered. We are living their wildest dreams. It was in 1871 where an African American choir, the Fisk Singers of Fisk University and HBCU, decided to take the precious hidden songs public for the first time. And when they did, the songs made it across the nation and even overseas, landing directly in front of Queen Victoria, and she wept. As recorded in the New York Tribune of 1920, quote, she wept before the songs of this band of singers from the South, end quote. Fisk University became known as the first to introduce the African American sound to the nation and the world. In the words of lecturer Cleveland G. Allen, quote, perhaps the best testimony in this music is that after 300 years it still lives, gaining more in favor and earning the commendation of all classes and universally acclaimed as the original American music. Happy Black History Month.